Ya, es que bueno, las artesanas también hay poco. Sí, es lo que pero hay una
necesitamos la sala.
Nada, que me dice la dirección, lo que pasa es que el colegio mayor es tan grande que se ha perdido dentro del colegio mayor. Y el problema era que le he dicho a uno, oye, ve y baja porque yo me he perdido. Bien, porque puta, son en plan, tengo un proyecto de ir a una discoteca y venderle cosas de no sé qué. Pero bueno, van a clase, toman un poquito y luego se van de copas. Ahí donde está el negocio. Pues voy a mandar algo de tarea, le voy a mandar que es una discoteca, que vaya a la discoteca y hable la semana que viene, además de tu charla, pues comenten un poco si han aprendido algo, si han hecho algo, y trabajen también sobre el Canvas y sobre eso. Hay cierta parte de París, pero
Y ahí toda una mesa, la mínima que la sientas.
sí, sí.
La mínima que la soplas es muy Es que no, pillé otra cámara. Vale. Yo es que a ver, si me decís el tweet, yo al momento que inicio el canal puedo compartir inmediatamente en todas las redes sociales ese enlace. Entonces, si tú me pasas el tweet,
Lo acabo de ver en YouTube,
de hecho se va a Facebook, a Twitter y a
me pregunta, hey, are you all streaming?
No te vayas sin firmar el papel.
Si me tiene que me lo habéis dejado ahí, se lo he llevado. Sí, realmente, pero además debe ser como...
Con una gorra.
¡Ay, no, streaming!
Con una gorra.
¿Sabes?
De hecho, que ya...
Tenía que haber dicho, ¡Eo! Es que me quieren, sí. Como no tengas ni puta idea de lo que estoy diciendo.
Luego, si cuando ves que te lo tienes que... Espera, repite. ¿Cómo? ¿Qué has dicho?
Creo que no voy a usar el Cernet al final. He visto que te da de puta madre, pero por si acaso, no sé si la haría.
Primero que lo hice,
Hoy voy a matar.
Salir un poquito antes, pero igual no digo. No, bien, bien.
Mira, voy a esperar que lo haga.
Tío, es por el cable este, mira. No, no es por el cable.
Por el cable del proyector.
¿El proyector? Vale, sí, vale.
Sabes que está transmitiendo, ¿no? El streaming.
Ah, sí, sí,
Están viendo.
este va a ser el nuevo Benny Hill.
Y se oye de puta madre ahora.
El nuevo Benny Hill, que salía yo ahí. El otro día que me dijo, bueno, yo tenía un vídeo en YouTube que sabes que haciendo un montón. Sí, muchas gracias. No, espérate, ¿sabes lo que pasa? Que hay que hacerlo. Si no mueves el continente, mueves el contenido, ¿no?
Si vámonos a la montaña.
Venga, va. Ya no toques.
La semana que viene. Había un tío allí que había venido de Tailandia recientemente, llevaba 20 años en Tailandia peleando y se bueno, cuando se baja y montó un gimnasio y tiró la máquina. Tienen aquí
Tienes margen hasta donde sea el. A mí lo que me importa es que salgas bien, en inglés me da igual.
el año que viene.
I'm just curious, anyone that's not Spanish? Raise your hand. Okay, nice. Where are you from?
I'm from China.
China, nice. Ni hao? Good, that's great. We have people from all over the world. So my name is Alex. So I'm gonna be your flight attendant this afternoon. So hopefully we'll make it fun and enjoyable and helpful. So today we're going to talk, well, just to give you a little bit of background on why I know all these assholes in orange t-shirts. So I'm one of the co-founders of Telemann Valley. We started this like 5.5 years ago. At the time, this was a desert, and there was literally nothing that was remotely similar to a startup here. And this past 5.5 years, it's been a beautiful trip. It's been a beautiful experience dealing with all the new people, all the new startups. A lot of the organizations that right now are doing startups across the country, and not only in the country, but also in Europe, and even all the way to Malaysia, precisely. We have friends there too, have gone through the program. They're friends of ours, and they're right now doing their own stuff. And it's really beautiful when you see that you get a big community together, and you guys learn, you guys enjoy it, and then you go and do your own stuff. And the whole goal of what we did in Telemann Valley was, bring people together, and all these people that we felt that we were different, just put them together and help each other. So Telemann Valley is pretty much a people organization, and all the people that are organizing this are former students that came through this. And hopefully, I hope that you guys enjoy this as much as everyone enjoys it. And I remember one day someone told me, so Alex, so what are you going to do with Telemann Valley? Where is it going to go? Are you going to change something? I said, this is not my stuff. This is not my company. This is your company. And everyone that comes in, I always tell you the same thing. This is your company. This is your organization. It is up to you what you want to do. It's up to you how much energy do you want to devote it and help others in the same way that these people in orange helped you through this process. So hopefully you'll have fun, you'll enjoy it, and you'll be part of the family soon. Okay? So today we're going to talk about something that's really, really important, and that absolutely everyone fucks it up every single time. Okay? Do we have someone counting the amount of fucks I'm going to say today? Just saying it because people get used to that. Someone, you just take notes so you can put it on the whiteboard. So a lot of people think that their companies are the most important thing, or the product or the service is the most important thing. Truth is that that's half of what you have to do. We see a lot of companies, a lot of projects that they have extraordinary products, extraordinary services, an incredible team, but they always fucked it up when they have to talk about what they do and actually explain to people why whatever they're doing is the best thing in the world. And sometimes you find people that while having a mediocre product, I'm not saying a bad product, but actually something that you see it and you go like, meh. And then this guy makes shit ton of money. They raise 2 million. And it's like, how the fuck have you done this? And they go like, dude, I'm a hustler. I keep talking with people. And so it became pretty clear when we started doing Telemann Valley, and after we also had a small fund at some point, and it became really clear that the companies, the startups that raised more money, the companies that were more successful, had a direct correlation with how well they were about when it came to communications. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to try and make this better. Okay, and what's the typical issues that happens that you guys are going to suffer through when you do your presentations. Every single time I keep saying, you see this thing, you shouldn't do this thing, but you're going to do it. Okay? So just keep this in mind. When I tell you you're going to do this, really, really make the effort not to do it. Okay? Because you're going to do it. Now, the problem with presentations is that most people think that this is about going to, you go to the investors and there's this big saloon and you talk with this very important people. But the number one question that most people ask when they meet a startup is, hola, ¿qué hace? Is what the fuck do you do? Okay, so why are you wasting my time? Why should I give you my time and listen to whatever you're talking about? And sometimes most of the startups, they just run around the place trying to grab the tech writer that covers startups, or the investor, or the super mentor. But then when you actually get to talk to them, it's like, like a cat. It's like, what the fuck are you talking? Okay, tell me whatever you're doing. And people are incapable of doing this. Now, you're like, okay, are you going to present me something or what? Why are you stopping me? I will tell this story. I've actually been stopped in the restroom with my dick in my hands. And you go like, really? Can you wait? There's only one door. I'm not going to run away. Okay, so just let's talk after. Now, for those of you that are local, today we did this, and I asked very young people, you know what the show of the goat is? And people were like, no, what is the show of the goat? Do you guys know what the show of the goat is? What, really? God, I'm growing old. Okay, so many years ago, and for a Chinese friend, maybe you've seen this at some point. Many years ago, here we used to have a lot more gypsies than we have now. Okay, and in true Borat style, these gypsies, they used to go around with this like big keyboards, and they started playing really funky music on the street. And they normally came with a freaking goat. And so they would basically bring the goat around the place, and the goat would start jumping while they play the music, and the goat would start banging and shit like that. And this was some years ago, many years ago. But it stuck like a typical phrase that you say someone when you go on stage. It's like, you have to do the show of the goat. If there's one thing that I want you to understand about doing powerful presentations, is that when you present, there's going to be a bunch of assholes just like you. So when you go on the stage, you better be a fucking goat and make people laugh and make a big difference. Because if you're not different, people are not going to remember you. No matter how good your company is, no matter how well your product is doing, if you don't do a good presentation, if people don't see something different, they're not going to remember you. And if there's something that's super harmful right now for startups, it's not being remembered. I talk with so many startups, and every time I'm in a conversation with someone else, I go like, yeah, there's a startup in Italy that does something like that, but for the name of God, I cannot remember their name. Every fucking day. You have to make sure that people remember you. You have to make sure you're capable of doing the GOAT show. And hopefully, if time and my family allows, I'll come the last day for your final presentations. And you better fucking do the GOAT show, okay? This is a warning. If you have a goat and you bring a goat on stage, even better. I don't know where you're gonna find a goat, but if you, I don't know if the Tradie guys will allow us to bring a goat here, but we can fix it, don't worry. Now, typical thing that happens with startups when they start presenting. Type number one, I just had an idea because I did my MBA, and so I have this freaking great idea, and you know,
sorry,
the sliding projector.
I'm just suffering because you're gonna break the cable.
I'm not gonna break the cable.
Yeah, you're.
No, I'm gonna break the cable. There you go. So, number one thing is people that go to a business school. Who here has a business degree or studying a business degree? Okay, only 1, 2, 3. Okay. Someone that has done or is thinking about doing an MBA? No? Okay. Mostly technical people? Yeah? Yes or no?
Technical people, raise your
Technical
hands.
people, raise your hands. Hey, fuck you, business people. Sorry, no, we love you guys. We need you guys too. So, the thing about sometimes in most of the startups, you see someone that just has this idea. It's like, oh, we did this project for an MBA, and this is a great idea. I'm sorry, that's worthless. Okay, what really matters is execution. Everyone can have an idea. Ideas are for free. Now, the interesting part is how you execute this part, and how do you explain this execution is what really matters. Second way of seeing ideas is what I call the pub idea. So essentially, you go with your buddies, you start drinking like assholes, and suddenly at one point, you're like, oh, dude, I just had this brilliant idea. We're gonna do a fucking Instagram for feet. Oh my God, that's gonna be the next Google. And of course, your buddies are drunk, so they're gonna go like, oh, dude, okay, let's register this domain. Instafeed.com. Oh, shit, it's taken. Okay, let's try something different. I always tell you people, be very careful with this kind of stuff. Okay, always talk with a female about this. Okay, we guys are stupid. We're retarded, and this is a fact. So we tend to get really excited with really stupid things. So you always need a female filter to go like, okay, I just came with the buddies. I had this idea. Check it out. Insta-feed. And if your girlfriend, wife, sister, mother looks at you like this and go like, how much alcohol have you been drinking? Drop it. Okay, it's not gonna work. But people tend to have ideas when they're drunk, when they're relaxed, which is a great part. And finally, you have the eureka moment. So you're in the bathroom and you have that moment, or in the shower, and you go like, oh, I have this idea. Let's do it. Okay. Now the major problem is that going from idea to execution is hard, and one of the hardest parts is that this is cozy. Who here likes this? Raise your hand. Be honest. Raise your hand. Come on, this is fucking awesome. Okay, if you're a tech guy, I know if you're from business, this is like, what the fuck is this? But if you're a tech guy, this is home. Okay, this is your mind cave. This is where you feel secure. It's like that thing outside. Oh my God, that's green. That's alien. Okay, that hurts. If you touch it, you probably get poisoned. Something. Okay, and that's one of the major issues with most of the startups. They are normally founded or co-founded by tech people or highly specialized people, which means that it's really hard for them to get out. It's really hard for a very specialized person to unstuck their head from their ass and start realizing that you have to try this in the market, and that you have to talk with people, and that people have to validate these things. It's scary, okay? If you only talk with people through the computer, it's kind of scary. You know, oh my God, real people. And they're gonna shit all around my idea, okay? And this is what scares the shit out of people. It's like, it's not the fact of talking with others. It's the fact that every time I pitch my idea, it's an opportunity for someone to give me shit. And we are scared about this. We don't like that. You don't like someone criticizing your idea. But the fact is that this is what you should be doing. The best pitching ideas, the best ways to communicate what you're doing, you get it from someone else. I keep seeing I remember when I started Press 42, and I went to all this startup meetings, and people asked me, oh, Alex, so now that you've left Silicon Valley, what are you doing? What's your next project? And I said, well, I'm doing Press 42, and this is essentially, we're connecting startups with the media, and we're doing this product, and blah, blah, blah. And they would go like, oh, so essentially you're doing a Match.com for startups. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. And you know, when you pitch these things around is when you get the best ideas. I always tell you guys, listen very carefully to what people tell you when you pitch them. If they tell you, oh, you're like X, take that shit. Because if this person thinks like that, and you ask someone else and you get the same, it's because it resonates with them. I always tell the same thing, use the force. Okay, if this is already resonating with them, with your audience, use it. Use it to your advantage. Okay, but the only way to do that is because you're going out. So if you're someone like this, you know who this is? Okay, tech guys, come on. No? Oh, I can't believe this shit. I give you a hint. He's Finnish.
The developer.
What the? Who said Angry Birds? Get the fuck out of here. Okay. First of all, Angry Birds is Swedish, not Finnish. But nice try. No, this guy is Linus Torvalds. He's the creator and the main developer for the Linux operating system, which is essentially most of the things you use right now, including your Apples, are based on Linux, and the iOS and a bunch of other things that you're using are based on what this guy did. Of course, if you tell this guy with this funny face that you have to go and sell shit, not gonna work. Maybe you know this guy. Richard Stallman, fucking hippie. Okay, he wears a tinfoil hat. Of course, I mean, if you're like this, it's very, very hard. And this is the major force you have to fight against when you're a startup. Is you're gonna have very highly technical people in your startup. And when you tell your CTO he has to go and sell the shit out of your startup, he's gonna shit his pants or her pants. And they're gonna go like, no, I'm the tech guy. I'm the fucking tinfoil hat guy. I'm not gonna talk with anyone. I've even heard startups that I remember actually not long ago. We were in Portugal. We were in Porto, and we went to UPTEC, which is Technical University of Porto. And we went to their incubator, and there were 2 people or 3 people at that time in the incubator. And let's say the manager introduced us to one of the startups, and I say, okay, so, I'm a journalist, I write about startups, what are you doing? And the guy goes like, I'm the tech guy. I'm not the guy that talks. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just tell me, what are you doing? I'm not good at this. It's like, come on. Okay, so this is the major hurdle that you're gonna find with startups, is that it's hard. It's hard to do this, but it's one of the major tasks that you have to do if you want to be successful. Now, as I said, always partner with women. Women are the key to successful startups, and I'm very glad to see several women here. Okay, so talk to them. If you're gonna try something on your pitch 1 week after the other one, talk to them. What do you think about this? Are we full of shit, or is this gonna be cool? Do it. It works. People always laugh when I say this, but I don't run anything in any of my companies without asking my wife, what do you think about this? Am I out of my head, out of my mind, or does it make sense? I would do this and this and this. Is okay, keep talking. And it's for free. She gives this for free, so that's awesome. Now, you have to fight against, one of the reasons why most startups do not communicate is because they become gullible, okay? And you've seen this all the time. Okay, talk about your company. No, my precious. Go, my precious. They're gonna copy my idea. Fuck you, okay? I had a friend that worked at Google, and we once were in San Francisco, and this guy came to, we were doing a round of pitches, and this guy, it was his turn, and he said, like, I cannot tell you anything more because, it might be copied. And the Google guy just stared at the guy, and he said, like, are you stupid? And the guy's like, no, there's a risk of someone copying my idea, and it's fucking awesome. And he's like, dude, let me explain this, how this works. So I work at Google. I build the servers that run Gmail. At the same time, I have a company that's called Mailinator, and I'm starting a third startup. Do you fucking think I have time to copy your stupid, ridiculous idea? And the guy's like, I thought, like, that's the best answer ever. Okay, I'm just gonna reply this situation every single time I hear that. Okay, so be careful. You always get a lot more when you share your ideas. When you communicate correctly what you're doing, you will get a lot more feedback that's gonna really help. It's going to be really helpful. The problem with most of these times when you pitch something and you get feedback is that you guys are not listening. You're only thinking about defending your ideas. You're only thinking about defending your products. And you're not really listening what people are telling you. And in most cases, they're actually telling you, dumbass, this is not my problem. But if you sold me this other thing, then I'll pay for this. Of course, they're not telling it like that. They're saying, oh, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it would be, it kind of reminds me of this. You're fucking it. I mean, if someone tells you that, he's not your target, but he's telling you. If you read between the lines, he's telling you some very important information about market validation, okay? Now, the problem is with technical people, or most people that work in the technical world, operate through what we call a meritocracy. So essentially, it's everything based on merit, which means the most highly technical product is the one that we think is the best. And if you talk with a tech guy, it's like, oh, check my new thing. It does this and this and this in less than 3 milliseconds. And you go like, I'm a computer engineer, and I used to be a hacker, and I used to do really, really obscure shit. And I still remember talking with my friends and saying, like, check this out. Fucking assembly code, machine code. And we would get, like, really excited, like, oh my God, this is fucking awesome. And, now with time and retrospective, I think back in time and go like, I was so stupid. The thing about being a technical person, and the broader sense of the technical person, is that you still think that the quality or the amount of customers you're going to have for your product or your startup is based on how good the product is. And I'm sorry to break this to you, that is stupid and it's wrong and it's not how the world works. You might think like that because you're a technical person, because you are the expert in your company, but that's not how the market works. And I see too many companies that have highly technical skilled people in the team that they come to you and they go like, no, dude, no one in the world has an algorithm like the one we have to do artificial vision. No one has this. Now, I go, okay, so where are your customers? No, they're gonna come because we're fucking awesome. You go like, what? It's like, yeah, no, you're awesome. And I always ask like, what's your marketing plan? We don't need a fucking marketing plan. We're the shit. We're gonna sell this, you know? TechCrunch is gonna write about us and everyone's gonna flock to our company and we're gonna be millionaires. I shit you not, I've heard this so many fucking times. And it's like, and then what happens is they hit the market and this happens. The fucking desert. It's like, we don't understand. People are stupid. I know how many times you've heard an engineer that says, the market is stupid. They're buying this thing and they're not buying our thing when our thing is 3 times better. We have 10 times more features than this guy's. You still don't get the fucking point. It's not about the technical side. It's about fucking selling. Are you gonna sell or aren't you? If you're gonna sell, get out there and sell the shit out of your company. If you don't communicate what you're doing, you're not gonna sell. It's as simple as that. So communicating and building the product goes hand in hand. And this is, I always get the same question. It's like, dude, Alex, but we cannot do the startup thing, we cannot do the product thing, we cannot do the money raising stuff. At the same time, we're cleaning our office. At the same time, we're trying to hire people. At the same time, we're going to events. At the same time, we're writing a blog post. There's no enough time in the day to do this. And I'm like, welcome to the startup world, my friends. If it was easy, every fucking retard on the street would be doing it. And they're not doing it. They're fucking working for a corporation. Why? Because they're unable to do that. Okay? So if you're here, it's because you're something different. And that implies a whole world of pain. Okay? So welcome to the world of pain, which is the startup world. Now, who are you going to find when you normally start doing communications? And this is the #1 rule when you do communications, is know your enemy. Really know who you're talking to. Really know who the audience is. Okay? So the first thing you're going to find normally in the audience are customers. Let it be direct customers, so people that are going to come after your talk or after whatever you're doing or reading an article, and they're going to go like, oh, that's interesting. Where can I buy this? Now, sometimes you find, or most of the times, what you really find is not a customer, but actually what I call a prescriptor or a proxy customer. So essentially, it's someone that is not an expert, but you know how the drill goes. I have a friend of a friend that might be interested in what you're saying. I say this because it's very typical that when you guys do a presentation, you go, I don't give a shit that half of the audience doesn't understand what I'm talking about, because the fact is my customers are the highly technical people or the highly specialized venture capital or the super business angel that knows about this or about that. You're wrong. You're fucked. Because what you're actually ignoring is the fact that in the audience, there are going to be a lot of lame people that don't know shit about what you're talking about, but that they actually have a friend of a friend that is the general director or the CEO of fucking Coca-Cola or fucking Microsoft or fucking Google. Okay? So you're just missing an opportunity because you're still thinking with a technical mind. You're still thinking about giving a talk to our peeps instead of giving a talk to as a larger audience as we can. Okay? Now, the second kind of typical people that you're going to find is media. Understanding media is very easy. They don't know shit. Okay? So essentially, it's like if you talk to someone that's retarded, that's how you deal with media. Okay? You just, okay, this is like a baby. They don't know shit. They don't know anything about technology. Most probably, they don't even know how to spell the name of your company. And most probably, they're going to fuck the name of your company when you send them a press release. So those are the only things you need to understand about media. But they're going to be in the room. And doing stupid things like switching to Spanish, for example, when there's people in the audience that don't know Spanish, or it's being video cast somewhere else is stupid. I remember once in Portugal, there was this presentation, and the Portuguese startups, which actually in Portugal everyone speaks perfect English, especially people in startups, and they decided that because they were in Portugal, they were going to do it in Portuguese. So what happened was that I was tweeting this, and I'm like, I have no fucking idea what this company is actually talking about. It kind of looks cool. And you know who was reading my tweets at this time? I had Mike Butcher, which is the editor for TechCrunch Europe, reading my tweets and saying like, dude, it's a pity because I was following your tweets and seeing what you were saying and trying to look for interesting startups to cover. And I said, you guys were fucking retarded because you were thinking, oh, we're in Portugal, we're gonna do this in Portuguese. Granted that actually this happens all the time in Spain, okay? This is not just unique to Portugal. This happens all the time in Spain. I still have to explain to people why the fuck do we do this in English? It's like, you know what? If I have to tell you why, you shouldn't be talking to me. Really, no matter what I'm going to tell you, you're not going to get it. Now, the third people you're going to find are investors. Okay, there's people with the suits, there's people that get harassed all the time, and that in most cases, especially in Spain, they actually do not invest. They have the sticker that say investors, but they normally do not invest. So be aware of these things. Now, truth is, an audience is a combination of these three profiles. These are psychological profiles. You might have someone that might be a customer and an investor at the same time. You might have someone that's in the media that's also a customer at the same time. So these are the three kind of people you're going to find in an audience. And you have to design your presentation for that. You have to design your communication for that. Okay, so if you know that there's going to be people from the media, make sure you give them a story. If you know there's going to be investors in the audience, make sure you give them some powerful, scalable numbers. Okay, if you have customers, make sure I wow you with my product. And because most of the times you're going to have a combination of those three, you have to have the three of them, which we're going to see just in a while. Now, typical pitch problems that we see all the time. Every fucking edition, I tell the same shit. And every time I hear the final pitch, it's always the fucking same thing. Okay, number one, 25 minutes is too fucking long. If you're gonna explain your company in 30 freaking seconds, you're not doing your homework. Your goal is to be able to tell me in 30 seconds, what are you doing? If in 30 seconds I don't get it, you don't know what you're talking about. It's a mathematical correlation between people that sit down and in the first 1.5 minutes, I go like, you don't know your market, dude. You have no fucking idea what you're talking about. Oh, no, yeah, we've done research. We've Googled this. Okay. Now, too many times you see networking, and we're going to talk about networking afterwards, but too many times in networking, when you go to an event, I see startups that they go like, yeah, blah, 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 and I go around, you know? And 20 minutes later, I come back, and the same guy is talking with the same person all the time, and I'm like, how is it possible I left you 20 minutes and you're still freaking talking with this journalist? And actually, when you look at the face of the other person, they go like, what again? I remember once, I think it was in a Pirate Summit in Cologne. This exact representation was happening there with a startup that I knew. And I said like, excuse me, just push the startup guy away and said like, okay, let me explain to you what these motherfuckers are doing. They're doing this, 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 and this. And you could see the journalist going like, why the fuck did you say that in the first place? I'm like, okay, it's 10,000, okay? But I see this all the time. If it takes you more than 1 minute, 30 seconds to 1 minute to explain this, and to people to get it, you're not doing it right. I always tell you, pitch your mom or pitch your grandma. And if in a 30-second to 1 minute pitch, they don't get it, trust me, your communication is not working. And if it doesn't work with them, it's not going to work with the audience. That's the bar you need to reach. Okay, this is when we're talking about, okay, so how far should it take this? That far. If you reach that point, you're good to go. You're going to be able to get on the stage and rock it. If you're not there, people are not going to get it. I've actually done experiments with companies that have raised money. We've done this experiment. We've asked people, what do you think about their company? If you had to explain their startup to someone else, what would you say? And they go like, blah, blah, blah. And you can see the founder going like, No, that's not what we thought. That's not what we said. This is not what we meant. This is not what you want you to understand, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're fucked. You're fucked. This is what people are getting with your explanation. Okay, so make sure you do that. Also, that's a very good experiment. Just pitch someone and immediately after say, okay, tell them what our company is about. If the way they explain it is different to what you think they should, the problem is not theirs, it's yours. Just remember that. It's not theirs. It's never the audience issue. It's your problem if you don't reach people. Now, second typical problem, and I always repeat the same stuff, you're going to do it. No matter how many times I'll tell you this, you're fucking going to do it. I remember last time I said, please, the guys that are doing fucking Bitcoins, do not talk about cryptocurrencies. Do not talk about Bitcoin. Do not talk about this shit. Fucking presentation. Bitcoin, virtual goods, blah, blah, blah. What the fuck is wrong with you? I told you, do not use technical words. Okay, every fucking technical word in the book. So please, I don't know if I have it here. No, I always tell this. We had to change this, I believe, but every time you say a technical word in your pitch, it's someone that disconnects. It's someone that doesn't follow you. You might be an expert in your field, and for you saying big data might mean a specific thing. But for an investor that has no background in what you're talking about in data science, it might think you're talking about, big data. So a big picture or something like that, or, a big book. Big data, no? Isn't that big data? How many times you guys start your presentation with the following? We're a social mobile music app. And I go like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, we're a social mobile music app. It's like, you didn't tell me anything. You just said social, which is dumb, of course. 10 years ago, saying that you were social was a feature. Today, if you're not social, what the fuck are you playing? Okay? So social is not a word anymore. The same way mobile is not a word anymore, or app is not a word anymore. Do not give me a pitch talking about, oh, we're doing an HTML application. What the fuck is wrong with you? I don't want to hear that. I want to hear how you're going to solve my freaking problem. I don't care what technology you're using. I don't care that you're in the M2M space. I don't care you're doing big data. Can you fucking solve my problem? Yes? Okay. Shut all your technical words out of your ass. Just to give you an example, my brother, who is nearly 7 years younger than I am, he was working in Telefonica Digital, and he was working in the M2M division. And I said, do you even know what M2M means? He's like, yeah, machine to machine. We're like, okay, so what exactly do you do? And he went on a rambling pitch. Oh, well, in our division, we connect machines with blah, blah, blah. And I went like, do you really understand what you're talking about? Yeah, and he repeated the same pitch although. So like, no, but I'm not asking you the pitch. I'm asking you, do you understand what that means? No, let me explain to you. And machine to machine is blah, blah, blah. And he pitched again. I said, like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And he said, I'm marketing. I'm like, okay. So please, every time you use a technical word, even if you don't think it's technical, God kills a kitten. Maybe that will make you think about this every time. And for those of you that are extremely religious and don't like that kind of metaphor, every time you use a technical word, the Rastafari monster kills someone, okay? So just so you know, just take this into account. Now, the single biggest issue with presentations is, why the fuck should I care about the presentation? Every single time you start a presentation, you always start talking about what do we do? Okay, so we are a startup, and what we do is blah, 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 social, blah, blah, Facebook, blah, blah, app. And in my brain, what my brain is doing is, I don't give a shit. What are you solving? What problem are you solving? Why should I care? If you will never know this. But if I told you that I have a tattoo with those words here, you probably would believe it. Okay? Fucking engrave this quote in your brains. Why should I care? For those of you, I don't know if we have here someone from the last edition. Someone here from that? Okay, you guys know this shit. Last time didn't I say, why should I care? fucking first presentation. What we do is an application to blah, blah, blah. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Why should I care? Now, the why should I care is, tell me the problem. Tell me what are you solving? Why should I sit there and listen to your ramblings for 5 minutes? Now, as I said, when people think about this, they start thinking in terms of, what do we do? So if you're a technical mind, what you go is, oh, what do we do? Well, we have an app, and this app does this and this and this, and it has this feature and that feature and that feature. And some people actually are so in love with their shit that they will go like, not only am I going to tell you what we do, I'm going to tell you how we do it. So actually, we're using a MapReduce strategy, and we're using Hadoop to basically distribute the charge between a load balancer and the Amazon Web Service cloud, and then we're connecting through a series of REST APIs, and you go like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not asking you how you're doing it. I don't care. Okay. I don't care if you have someone in a fucking box doing it that by hand. I don't give a shit, okay? I don't give a shit. I just care that you solve the issue. Do you solve it? Yes, that's the only thing I care. That's what the markets care about. That's what the investors care about. They don't want to hear that your technologies do this, do that, and whatever. I don't care. I mean, it's not true. At some point, I'm going to care. I'm going to show you when I'm going to care. But at this point, at the beginning of a presentation, I don't care. I don't give a shit. What you should start is, why should you be listening to me? I always put an example here between Microsoft and Apple. When you go to the Microsoft website, the first thing you see is, what do? We have a Microsoft Surface that has 320 megabytes of gigabytes of RAM, and we have this clock speed, blah, blah, blah. When you go to Apple, the first thing that you actually see is the why. Is, you should buy an iPad because it changed the way people learn. You should actually download iOS apps, or actually they don't say iOS apps. You should buy an iPad because it allows your business to grow faster. I don't tell you how the iPad works. I don't tell you what kind of resources the iPad has. What I'm going to tell you is why you should buy the iPad, why you should care about buying an Apple product, okay? Now, the other side of the table. I always tell you guys, one of the best exercises you can do is actually, if you were on the other side, how would it react? And this is one of the things we try to instill in you guys when you're here and when your peers are pitching. When someone here is pitching, you guys are doing or are thinking in the same way VCs, business angels, juries are thinking. And my advice to you would be, when you're sitting there and you're moaning because one of your peers, one of the teams is here presenting, and you're going like, holy shit, this is so fucking boring. Think about this for a while and think, am I going to do the same shit when I go on stage? Because you're going to be next on stage. So think about that. Think about what you're experiencing and try to fix it when you go on stage. Now, the other side of the table, investors, they don't like to be pitched. Do not pitch investors. I know this is stupid, and this is like the opposite of what everyone tells you. Do not pitch investors. Okay? Investors will eventually ask you, what are you doing? And then you pitch. But you don't go around running around like a fucking chicken going like, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell you about my startup. Here's a business card. Here's a business card. Here's a business card. Here's a business card. Oh, you clean the floor? Here's a business card. No, don't pitch me, bro. Do not pitch me. I don't want to listen to your shit. If I'm interested, I'll ask you. I'm not stupid, okay? Now, these people get pitched like 20 times a day. Which means that whatever shit you're telling them, there's a high probability they've seen it or they've invested in something similar before. So if you become this smart ass and you come around like, I was just talking to Carmen about this. I just had someone mailing me saying, we want you to publish this on the Startup Digest because, we are the first pre-accelerator program in the world. And I was like, blink, blink, like, okay, so essentially for 5.5 years, Teruel Valley has been exactly what? Okay, nice. So chances are that pitch someone that has seen your startup before. do not be smart about it. Do not tell people, oh, we have a revolutionizing technology and we're uniquely positioned to do this shit, because you're not. Because most probably they've actually seen this. I once saw on stage something that was brilliant. I said, like, I should have recorded this. So this startup goes on stage and goes like, and blah, 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 and this is how the problem we do, and this is how we solve it, and blah, blah, blah. And at one point they go like, and this is our business model, and this is how we're gonna do money. At that point, one of the investors sitting on the jury panel raised their hand, and the startup just like stops, and they go like, yes. And the investor goes like, no, you're not gonna do money like that. The startup was like, what? Like, that you're not gonna do money like that. No, yeah, because our business model is gonna do this and that. And the guy goes like, okay, let me try to explain this to you. I have 2 companies in my portfolio that do exactly what you're doing. And they told me when they came to me, they said, we're gonna make money in the same way you're actually telling me. And you know what? They can't. Do you wanna buy me in my companies? And he totally killed the guy on stage. Okay, so do not be smart about this shit. Okay, because most probably the guys you're gonna have in front know a lot more and have seen a lot more. Be humble, be humble. I mean, don't be stupid. If you have something interesting, say it. But do not overstretch yourself. Okay, do not go overboard with these things. And of course, they've listened to all the fluffy words you can tell. Okay, if you're pitching me and you start saying social, mobile, augmented reality, blah, 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 I'm gonna disconnect immediately and go like, okay, another fucking marketing pitch. Why? Because I'm immune to these words. I've heard them so many times that they don't register in my brain anymore. So you're just using valuable time of your pitch, valuable words, because every word has a cost in telling me something that it's not going to be registered in my brain. Okay, so be aware of these things. Now, media, they don't get pitched that many times. They get pitched like 10 times a day. They have no fucking idea what you're talking about. Okay, just everyone here knows TechCrunch? Do you know who runs TechCrunch? Those of you that already know, shut up. For the new guys, do you know who runs TechCrunch? Or who used to, or who founded TechCrunch? Okay, one of you that knows it is this guy called Mike Harrington. And if you had to guess what's the background of Mike Harrington, what would you think? We're talking here about TechCrunch, the largest technology blog, technology publication in the world. What would you think is the background of the guy founding this media? Have a guess. Have a guess.
Business.
Business. What else?
Program.
Developer. What else? Journalist. What?
Maker.
What?
Maker.
Maker?
Baker.
Baker. Okay. Baker. That's like an interesting one. No, but pretty close. Actually, his fucking background, he's a freaking lawyer. What does a lawyer knows about technology? We have a lawyer here? What do you fucking know about technology?
What?
No, what? It's something, what I read in the newspapers. Exactly. So that's the kind of journalists you're gonna find. People that have no idea about technology. If you start pitching something with technical words to the press, they're gonna screw your presentation, they're gonna screw your press release. And I still hear a lot of people that come to me and go like, dude, the press is horrible. They fucked up my press release. It's like, no, you fucked it up because you talked with this guy and he didn't understand anything about what you were talking about. Okay? Now, I still remember the early days in Teton Valley. We hired a PR agency, and for 8 months they were pushing press releases to these really obscure newspapers in Spain, like La Gaceta de Albacete. And it was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? We're paying you guys. How is it possible? Why cannot you publish us in, a respectable media? Some kind of newspaper that people actually read and not used to, sell castañas or, sell fishing. And one day I remember the person in charge of our PR, the PR agent that was running our operations, came to the office and she said, you're going to have an interview with this journalist from Público. So we sat in the meeting room. So I started talking about the story of Teton Valley and this and that and that. And I was actually seeing the journalist next to me from our PR agency writing down things. I was thinking, what the fuck is she writing? She's writing and writing. And actually the journalist from Publica was, oh, very interesting. Yeah, interesting. And next to her, our agent was like, this is wrong. I mean, the journalist is not writing. Why the fuck our PR person is writing so much? And turning the notebook around and keep writing and like, and at the end of the interview, like the journalist was like, yeah, that was very interesting. Yeah, we'll definitely publish this. She goes, and our PR person, she comes to me, she goes like, dude, that was awesome. I'm like, what? And she said, no, the story. What? Yeah, the story about Teton Valley. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's like, no, that now I get it. I was like, what are you trying to tell me? That after 8 months is the first time you've heard this shit? And she's like, yeah, man, he's awesome. Since that point onwards, we actually made it to all the fucking newspapers. And like, I wanted to kill my partners. Like, what the fuck have you talked with this lady that she doesn't get it? But it was our fault. We fucked it up. We fucked it up because we were unable to talk in the language that journalists talk, which is retarded language, by the way. And most importantly is they don't have time to research, which means that if you're gonna give me something, you better give it all. I don't have time. I mean, I sometimes get started, they go like, oh, check our website. No, dude, I don't have time to check your website. Oh yeah, we have this PDF, you can read it, and at the bottom we have a graph. I'm not gonna read it. I don't have time to read this, okay? So give everything. Everything you want to focus your story on, give it to them, because they don't have time to go out and research it. And if you ever have to talk to the media, the number one clue or key I want you to have is always, absolutely always think, if I was the editor, or actually, if I was in the audience and I was reading, I was in the readership of that blog or that publication, and I read my press release, and I wasn't from that company, would I care? And if your answer is no, shove it up your ass, okay? Because it's not gonna work. Even if it gets published, it's not gonna work. And I always ask people, like, be honest, read your press release, and now tell me, if you saw this published, and it's not your company, would you care? And they go like, no, I wouldn't. I said, like, then do not send it. Do not send it to the media. Now, I don't know how much time I've been eating already, but you know, this is part of the drill. Now we're gonna go through the framework or the structure of what a pitch should have, okay? This is based on the 10-20-30 rule from Guy Kawasaki, highly recommendable book called The Art of Start. Very easy book. There's actually a Spanish translation for those of you that want the horrible Spanish translations that we do in this country. But the original one is very easy to read, very short, and it's very, very enlightening. And over there, Kawasaki Guy basically talks about how to prepare a good pitch. What are the kind of things that you have to have on a pitch? It's called the 10-20-30 rule because it talks about 10 concepts in 20 minutes in 30 font size. And the reasoning is there's 10 questions that investors are going to ask you that want to know about. This was pretty old, as you see. In the old times, you had 20 minutes to explain this. Not anymore. Now it's more like a 10-5-30 rule, more than a 10-20-30. And 30-point font is the best advice that someone can give you when it comes to design of a presentation. Is how old do you think is the average investor? Give me 40. What do you think that happens when you're 40? And you don't fucking see. So do not give me a presentation with tiny fonts like this, because I'm not going to be able to read it. If I'm sitting on the back, I'm not going to read it. The same applies for business cards. Do not give me a business card that has your email on font size 6, because I fucking need a lens to actually read it. And that's me, and I have a good eyesight. So imagine someone that's wearing glasses. So big fonts, please. The bigger, the better. Now, you have this online, so you don't have to write the 10 of them. We're gonna go briefly over all of them. This is what your pitch, this is a framework for startup pitching. And as the word says, it's a framework. You don't need to copy it, you can switch it, you can change it, but it kind of sets the ground rules of what you should have in your presentation. And I must say, for those of you that in Teton Valley organization that are gonna be here afterwards, I don't wanna see what I saw last year, that when I came to the final presentation, you motherfuckers basically decided to omit half of this, okay? So, word of advice, these 10 concepts have to be answered in your presentation, okay? I don't care if your presentation is very nice. That's great, you know, it makes my life easier because I'm gonna enjoy it, I'm gonna have fun with the presentation. But if you don't answer the right questions, I'm not gonna invest. I don't care how pretty your presentation is. I don't care how great your design is. I'm not gonna invest in your company. Now, these 10 concepts, not slides, concepts, have to appear in your presentation. So number one, we've talked extensively about number one. Show me the problem. Tell me the problem. Do not open a presentation with what we do is blah, blah, blah. No. Open the presentation with a story. Tell me a story about illustrating a situation where someone runs into the problem you are solving. Okay? So, I don't know, maybe you are selling vacuum cleaners. Okay? So if you're selling vacuum cleaners, the first thing that you have to tell me is, you don't come to my place and you go, oh, hello, I'm Mr. Dyson, and I'm gonna sell you a vacuum cleaner. You know, it sucks shit out of the floor, and it's really powerful, you know, and it's fancy because it generates steam at the back and it looks cool. Huh? Buy it. No, you don't do that stuff. You actually come to my place and you go like, this is interesting. Haven't you had issues with, you know, cleaning those corners where you cannot reach? Or maybe, you know, switching between the floor and your textiles? And I go like, yeah, actually, now that you say, oh yeah, because this staining actually probably has been your major headache when it comes to cleaning in your house. It's like, dude, how do you know that? You know, I'm an expert cleaner. You know, the best way to do this is actually with vapor. Oh, that's interesting. And then, and only then, once I've illustrated the problem, once the audience is attuned, is resonating with the problem, then is when I tell you, how do we solve this? Okay, let me explain to you how you can solve that problem. And when I talk about solving, which is number two, is a solution, I'm not talking about your technology. I'm talking about, give me an abstract idea of how are you going to solve this. Don't tell me, okay, so we have this product that has this feature, that feature, that feature. No, just tell me, okay, there's many ways to solve this problem, but we figure out that the best way to do this is actually using powerful computations to figure out how this happens. So instead of giving you this data, we're actually going to tell you how this happened in your company. And that's our solution. Now, if that's interesting to me, and you've actually talked about the problem, let's imagine we're talking about data mining, okay, in a company. And you come to me and go like, do you have issues when it comes to, you know, knowing how to stock your shops around the city? You know, how many times you have a stock breakage and you've had like no product whatsoever and people are demanding the product and you don't have it? Oh, dude, yeah, I've heard that. This is a very crude example of a problem, to be honest. You have to do it much better, okay? It's just an example. Now, I'm not going to tell you how we're going to solve it. I'm going to tell you, wouldn't it be awesome to have something that would actually tell you in real time, hey, dude, now you have to restock your shop. Tomorrow you have to restock that shop. And the day after tomorrow you have to restock that shop. Wouldn't that be awesome? Oh, dude, that would be fantastic. I would buy that hands down. Okay, let me introduce you our solution, which does exactly that, okay? That's the way you introduce it. Now, number three is essentially, okay, if I believe you, if I see the problem, if I have the problem and the way you tell it to me resonates with me, and I understand the solution you are proposing, my next question is going to be, okay, but is there enough people here for that solution? Am I the only one that has that problem, or do we have more people that have that problem? this afternoon, Karel and I were giving a talk, and someone said like, "Oh no, but I thought that the idea of my startup of what I'm going to do is this thing, and I like it. I would buy it." This is a fantastic quote. Your mom is not a market, okay? And your friends are not a market either. So many times I see startups, I go, "Oh no, but my friends told me they're going to buy it." I don't care. That's not a market. "Oh, but my mom told me that was the best idea since sliced bread." Yeah, your mom is very nice with you, you know. She doesn't want to hurt your feelings. But if you actually ask her with a couple of, shots, she would be very honest with you, like, "You're full of shit. No one is going to buy this stuff." Okay? So in the market, what you have to show is how big is this? And by how big is this is how much money is it to make? Don't tell me, "Oh, there's 3 million motorbikes in Spain." So what? If you're selling something to the motorbike world, don't tell me there's 3 million motorbikes. Tell me there's 3 million motorbikes, which means that there's 3 million riders that take the motorbike 3 times a week. And every time they go out, they actually spend 20 euros or 100 euros every time they go out, which means that every fucking month, this market segment spends between 200,000 and 1 million every month, just in a region. Now, if you extrapolate this to the whole Europe, it means that there's like $2 billion to be made. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear, "Oh, there's a lot of people, and yeah, people will buy it." No, show me the money. Show me how much money is it in for me. I'm an investor. I'm only going to invest in something that I go like, And some of you are probably going to work in a hyper vertical, which means that if you're not very good at explaining how your market rocks, people are not going to invest. They're going to go like, "This is too small." If you actually come to me and say, "Okay, so we've analyzed our market and our market is 60,000 euros, I'm going to go, "Why are you talking to me?" Okay, that's not a market for venture capital. That's not a market for business angels. Okay, that's too tiny. That's self-employment. That's not a startup. Okay, so think about this. Don't hit it too low, but don't hit it too big. I mean, don't start doing spreadsheet magic and go like, our basic market is essentially, this is a real quote. I once heard someone saying, "Oh, what's your market?" "Oh, our market, it's any human being in the 21st century." And you go like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, man? You've been living in a cave or something?" He had. Now, don't go overboard, but don't shoot too small. Don't tell me, "Oh, it's only a 2 million market." No, something between 200, 300, 500 million mark and 1 billion, 2 billion mark. Over 2 billion, no one's going to believe you. Below 500, 200, it's too small. Okay, so make sure kind of your numbers. This is the magic of the spreadsheets. You just do your magic and you get the number. Competitors. Too many startups just ignore competitors. It's that there's no competitors. Fuck you. There's always competitors. Always. Starting with Google, Apple, Facebook. You get it. Whatever. Now, be honest about your competitors. If there's something that pisses investors to no end, is having a startup that goes on stage saying like, "And of course, our technology is so fucking unique that there's no one in the world doing it." And then you have someone in the audience that raise their hand and go like, "Excuse me, I'm blah, blah, blah from Index Ventures. Actually, we have 3 investments in the same area. I don't know if you know this company, that company, that company, and that company. And if you ever go to the US, there's actually this other company, that other company, that other company, that in total, they've actually raised 80 million. And you, the entrepreneur, you're standing here and you're shitting and crapping yourself like, holy crap, because you just become the pariah of the event. You have to do your fucking homework. And in most cases, the people you're going to have in the audience and are probably going to know a lot more about your competitors than yourself. So make sure you put everyone there. And the point is not to put everyone there. The point is to communicate the audience that you know what you're talking about. That you know that Dropbox is out there. That you know that Box is doing something different. That I know that Spotify is doing something. Most people go like, "Oh, but do you think it's good that we put competitors?" Of course it's good. It shows me that you've done research. It shows me that you actually know that there's someone else doing it. Now the question is, if there's no one doing it, I'm not going to invest, because I'm not going to touch that even with a broomstick. Why? Because if no one is doing it, it's for a fucking reason. It's because there's no money to do it. Okay? The market is very wise, and the market regulates itself. So if there are no competitors, start running. Now, number 5, here, and only here is when we start talking about technology. Now, we talk about market, we talk about competitors. Now, the question is, how are you going to be different from your competitors? So the point is not being honest about your competition. The point is, how do you explain how you're different from your competitors? And that's where the game starts happening, okay? Because most people go like, oh yeah, you know, competitors, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. So how are you different from them? Well, our startup is called BookFace. You go, what? Yeah, it's Facebook, but we're called BookFace. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? You're not different from them. Oh, we're different. Instead of blue, we're using a greenish shade for our website. We're fucking awesome. I'm not really exaggerating this shit. I can tell you how many times I've talked with companies that you go like, dude, but you're the same. Oh, no. We have a specific button here that allows you the creation of social groups much faster than on Facebook. Okay, how much faster? 30 seconds faster. You're screwed. Why? Because I'm not going to learn a new system because you did something that's 30 seconds faster. So be aware that here in the technology point is where you have to nail it. You have to nail what you're doing. You have to nail why you're different. And here is where you talk about your technology. If you have a patent, if you have an algorithm, if you have network effects, here's what you talk about. If you have amazing, architecture, this is where you talk about. Okay, this is where you defend your shit. This is where you tell people, and this is why we're going to kill it, because no one else has this. No one else has this capability and this technology available to them. Now, if I listen to all your stuff at that point, now is the moment, and this is the most ignored part of most presentations. You guys stand here for 5 minutes, and after 5 fucking minutes, I still have to raise my hand and say, how are you going to make money? If someone raise their hand and asks you, how are you going to make money? You are dead. That shouldn't happen. Okay? This is the point. Number 6 is show me the money. How are you going to make money? And you guys go crazy when it comes to this part of business model. This is very easy. It's, hello, my name is Alex. I'm selling bricks. Okay? So you give me 2 euros and I'll give you 1 brick. Okay? If you don't give me 2 euros, I don't give brick. You get it? Got it. Okay? Business model, easy. You don't need to go into detail. I mean, if you have a subscription model, okay, we have a subscription model. Every month, this guy pays me and I'll give them access to our system. Ta-da! So hard. It's not hard. You guys make it extremely hard to explain how you make money. I don't want to listen to how you have different regions where you charge this customer more and that. I don't care. You're charging customers for your service every month? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, you have a subscription model. Then we can argue if you're charging more, you're charging less, or you should do this or that. But I just want to understand how you're making money, how you're going to make money, okay? Number 7, marketing and sales. This is where the party just goes to a rage, okay? If you manage to screw it up at this point, number 7 is where you just kill your presentation. Is you go, okay, so I get it that there's a market. I get it that you have competitors. I get it that you have a badass solution. I understand that you have or think you have a way of making money. Now, if your business model goes through along the lines of, oh yeah, and in 1 year we're gonna have 10 million people, you go like, what? And this is always fun. And here in Silicon Valley, we see this all the time. There's a startup goes to the stage and they go like, oh yeah, in our first year we're gonna make 2 million. You go like, why? Why 2 million? Because it looks nice. I shit you not. This was a startup, very well known startup in Telecom Valley saying this. Of course, we had a big laugh and said like, no, dude, you don't do this like this. Okay. Now, this is the point where if you're telling me that you're gonna make this much money with this business model, and these are your sales projections for the next 3 years or the next year, you better tell me how the fuck are you gonna get those users. You better tell me how you're gonna go to the street and get those users. One of the best tests that you can, or stress tests that you can have is when someone tells you, yeah, we're gonna have 1,000 users in month 1. It's okay, just very easy. Get a pen and a paper and write me the first 50 customers that you're gonna sign with name, last name, and email. If you're not able to, if you cannot do that, you're not ready for this. Okay, now, marketing strategy is what the name means. Strategy, okay? Brute forcing is the absence of strategy. Okay, so when you guys come around and go, oh, what's your marketing strategy? Our marketing strategy is social media. I go, what? What is social media? No, social media. Yeah, but what is social media? Facebook? Twitter? No, but what exactly are you going to do with those? Those are channels. Those are not a strategy. What is your strategy? Word of mouth? And the most illuminated of our students, they normally go, we're going to go viral. And you go like, yeah, got it. Check. That always happens. Don't worry. That always happens. No, when we're talking about marketing strategies, how are you going to reach these people? Are you going to go door to door? Are you going to use a competition on Twitter? Are you going to start following specific keywords to see if you have new leads? How are you going to generate new leads? How are you going to convert those leads? That's what you need to say. You don't need to go into a lot of detail because you don't have the time. This is a 5-minute presentation, okay? So you're not going to have the time. But you definitely need to follow on with an idea of how you're going to capture those people. Now, number 8 is the team. And the team is not there. It's not an accident that the team is there. Okay, the fact that we put the team there is because if I believe you at that point, my next question is going to be, so if you're telling me that you're going to do sales door to door, or that you're going to do B2B sales in the telecommunication industry, you better have someone that knows about the telecommunication industry in your team, or you're screwed, because you're not going to be able to open those doors if you don't have an insider. Now, this is a point where you start thinking about what kind of team do you need to pull this off. This is not the place where you start portraying your team saying, oh, and my co-founder, he's a grandmaster of chess, and he won the 2010 Frisbee competition in San Francisco. Either you're doing a Frisbee company, or I don't give a shit how many Frisbee tournaments you've won, okay? So make it short, make it visual, make sure that you show the team, show the faces of your people. I know that, you know, when you flash something at your developers, they start scrambling and running around, okay? But try to gather them in the same place and shoot them with your camera and get a nice picture, and then just say, you know, this guy is our CTO. Why? Because they have 5 years of experience working with the same technologies we're using. This guy is our chief scientist officer because he has 3 PhDs and he knows this shit up and down. I don't want to listen to, okay, and they also have a hybrid and they use a Prius and they have a drone. I don't care. Okay, be very strict about what you put there, and that in a way that it connects to your project, in a way that it helps you sustain your project, and helps you defend your project. Okay. Finally, number 9, milestones and projections, which is what have you achieved so far? And this is the what I call the unicorn moment. This is where when you're a very, very early stage, what you normally have in that slide is a logo from Telecom Valley. It's achievements. We've been accepted to Telecom Valley. No, we applied to this competition and they sent us this email. It was really nice for them. Okay, it's fine when you don't have any milestones so far. Okay, designing a logo is not a milestone. Okay, buying a domain name is not a milestone. Okay, we've seen this here in Telecom Valley. I'm saying this, you laugh, but we've seen this. A team going on stage going, milestones of the week. we just bought our domain name. No. Okay, milestones, when we're talking about milestones, we're talking about sales milestones, business milestones. Of course, when you're very early stage, which is what happens when you're in Silicon Valley, you're not going to have those milestones. But as soon as you start getting them, start replacing the ones you have that look fucking ridiculous, and start putting the ones that are interesting about your business, about business validation, about market validation, about how many prototypes we have running, how many pilots we have running, even if they are non-paying customers, okay? But that shows that at least you're talking with people and you're evolving within your company. The same goes for projections. So milestones is what I've done. Now, projection says, what is the future? What do you, shut up.
You know, I thought
I know what you're thinking.
I ran here. I ran 3 lights to get here. You're still talking.
I know what you're thinking. Old friends. So projection says, what's the future is going to look like? Okay, so this is the place where a lot of startups actually screwed up, specifically in Spain. So you talk with a US startup, and you go like, okay, so what are your future plans? And they go like, oh, well, we're about to sell this to the New York Times, to the Washington Post, to the Wall Street Journal, to Business Week. Oh, dude, that's really interesting. So the New York Times. So who are you talking in the New York Times? We're like, well, we have a friend of a friend that knows the guy that cleans the bathroom in the New York Times. And so he's scheduling us a meeting with his boss, who is the manager, the cleaning manager for the offices of the New York Times. And we're going to take it from there. And you go like, dude, you have brass balls. Okay, but that's the US, okay? They sell the shit so well. Then you go to Spain, which is the other opposite, and you go like, okay, so what are your plans for your startup? And people go like, well, so this week we've been working with our neighborhood. We think that in 3 months, we're probably gonna launch on the next neighborhood. And with a year and a half, maybe we can make it to the outskirts. And if we raise money, we'll go international and we'll move to Portugal. And you go like, great. So this is a factor of ambition. You have to be ambitious about this. You don't have to be crazy. You don't have to say, hey, we're gonna, reach everyone in the universe, but you have to be ambitious, okay? We are in the office of a company, it's called Trady, that they're so fucking good at this. If you want to get a Q, talk with them, okay? You have one of the co-founders over there, so you should talk with them because they're fucking experts at this. They've raised so much money, okay, by hustling their shit around, okay? And they're very good at this. And they come from the US. They've learned this from the US. Okay, they've been hustling for a long time and they're killing it. So learn from them, talk to them, learn how they do it. Be careful with your projections, don't overreach, but be ambitious, okay? And finally, call to action, which is, you have to remind me why I've been sitting there for 5 minutes. You have to remind me why I should buy into your company. So this is a final message of, remember the problem. Remember how much it hurts. Let me remind you how much it hurts. Now remember, we have a badass solution. Remember that we have a badass team and that we know how to make money. Call us next time. Call to action. You always close with a call to action. You guys tend to close your presentation when it reaches the end. Oh, we're looking for 500 euros in investment. Thank you very much. You have my email there. And we're done. Can I leave the stage now? Yeah, okay, all right. No, come on. People remember the beginning and people remember the end every time. So make sure the beginning is awesome and the end is fucking awesome, okay? So if you want to bring the goat on stage at the end, that's a point where you have to bring the goat on stage, okay? Carmen, your call.
Yeah, first scaling, and if we have time for the other talk, I would love if you can give the other talk because I think it's important, but I don't know if we have time.
This is the thing. Last time I gave an extra talk one day and she said like, dude, this talk is amazing. This is what people should hear about. And she said, next time in Silicon Valley, because it's not enough with you running over your time every fucking single time with the same talk, you're gonna give the same talk, and the one in networking. And I said, I'm not gonna have time. Oh, yeah, you're gonna have time. This is what's called wishful thinking, okay? It's not gonna happen. But yeah, I mean, at some point we can organize another whatever, and we can talk about speedy networking. But I hope this was useful, at least that you have a baseline as to what to do. These slides are online, okay? So they are on the slide share of Teruel Valley, I believe. We basically talked about this. But I want you to, there's a bunch of things not to do, going very fast. Fucking pixelated images, don't do that shit. Watermarks, I'll kill you if I see a watermark. What the fuck is with you and the colors? Okay, the day that Sesame Street taught you the colors, none of us were there, okay? So just keep it simple, black and white, white over black. Do not go fancy with the colors. We don't want fucking rainbows, okay? Got it? No fucking unicorns, no fucking rainbows. List of don'ts, I'm not gonna go over it. You have it online, read it, okay? Read it and make sure that when you do presentations, check. We're not doing any of this, okay? Guys, thank you very much. Big pleasure. I don't know why you're talking about this.
You guys want to like stand up and jump up and down 3 times and meet somebody new or do something? I'm going to put you guys to sleep. I'm talking about business. Everybody on your feet. On your feet. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Up. Touch your toes.
Can I get the girls? Can they go naked?
The girls can go naked. No, seriously. Up.
No?
This like helps you think. Touch your toes. High five the person behind you. This is like church. What? With you. High five the
What
person
kind of
in front
churches do you go to?
High five.
You high five people at church?
Oh, can we high five people at church? All right, you guys can sit down. I'll try to be quick. Yeah. You know that. I make money.
Pero te tienen que cambiar la, ¿tienes la presentación?
Cool. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Caitlin. My background is I used to work for banks, and then I worked for startups and good guys and non-for-profit organizations working with startups. I used to work for Tetuan Valley. Then I went back to being a banker, and that's my background. And I'm going to talk to you guys about business because that's what I know. These are, I don't know if anybody watches South Park. These are the Underpants Gnomes. The Underpants Gnomes have a great business where they steal people's underwear, bragas, and then they make money. And there's a big question mark in the middle about how it is they make money. So what we're going to talk about today is the question mark. Really quickly, we're going to go through the various business models. What's important isn't that you guys catch each one, so don't bother to write them all down. What's important is you walk away from this knowing how your company makes money. There's a thing that sometimes happens in Tetuan Valley where the difference between a business and a hobby is kind of gets confusing when you talk about startups. If you don't have a plan to make money and lots of money doing what you're doing and make money quickly, then you don't have what's called a scalable startup. If you plan to make money doing what you're doing, but maybe not like this, then you have a startup. If you have a project that's cool, that's never going to make any money, you have a hobby. And the one thing I want to tell you, being a banker, do not let anyone make you feel bad about your hobby. If what you have is a hobby, then own it, but make it clear to people that don't put me in the same category as everybody else here. Now, if you want is $5 million and you come pitching a hobby or just a startup that isn't scalable to an investor, you're not going to get anywhere. So it has a lot to do with knowing your audience, which I'm sure Alex has already talked to you about. But just so we have that clear, I think for the terms of this program, you guys are all expected to pitch as though you are a startup that is going to be a business. So having said that, business models, advertising, Google, AdWords, the little fun boxes you see when you're looking at websites that you accidentally click on and then there's 7 windows that come up. That's how you make money with advertising. Asset sales. Asset sales is, I have a box, I make a box. This happens to be a coffin. Sorry, this was from a different presentation. But as many people buy my box, that's how much money I make. Brokerage. eBay is what's called a brokerage site. Brokerage is, I have a buyer, I have a seller. eBay itself is an intermediary, and they collect money when there is a transaction. Investment bankers are also brokers. Licensing. Licensing is when you, for example, buy a laptop and it has Microsoft Office in it. You don't own Microsoft Office. Microsoft still owns Microsoft Office. But you are licensing the right to use their product while you have a computer. Subscription service, that's your gym membership. Pay per use is like when you go to those yogurt places and they weigh the amount of yogurt that you have and then you pay more or less in function of how fat you are. That's pay per use. Lending, renting, or leasing, I think most of us probably understand this one because it takes money out of a bank account every month. And what about freemium? Freemium is not a business model. Freemium is something that gets married to a business model and then you make money. For example, Farmville. Farmville is a game you, yes, get to play for free. Farmville is a game that most people play for free. But Farmville doesn't make money when you play for free. Farmville makes money when the weird people, and I'm really sorry if I offend anyone, but Farmville makes money when people pay real money for imaginary things.
Shit in my house already?
No, dude, I'm shitting on your cow. That's how Farmville makes money. Their business model isn't freemium. They get lots of people, but their business model is when they sell imaginary things for real money. Premium plus subscription. Spotify doesn't make money when I use Spotify. Spotify makes money because if enough people like me use Spotify, 10% of them will pay 10 euros a month to get rid of ads, to be able to listen to it on their iPhone for subscription features. And then premium plus usage fee is like MailChimp lets you send 500,000 messages for free, and then once you get to 501 messages, you have to start paying for every email you send. So that's how you make money. And that's the story about all of this is how do we make money? Making money, facturación, revenue is when you multiply price times the quantity of whatever it is that you sell. So everybody who's anybody, your quantity is either the people in my barrio or your quantity is everyone in the world who's going to buy my product. The price is the part where people get a little bit caught up. So here's how you decide about price. First good idea when you're talking about price is doing something that's called benchmarking. Benchmarking is when you look at your one competitor and you look at your other competitor and you stick your price somewhere in the range of what other people for similar or substitute things are charging for those. And that's how you decide your price. Apple doesn't do that. When you buy a laptop, you can get laptops for $800, you can get them for $500, or you can pay $2,000 for an AirPro. Apple charges based on what they convince you is the perceived value of what it is that you're buying. The beautiful part about pricing things like this is that you have very high margins. The tricky part about things like this is you have to convince the people who are using or purchasing your product that that is the actual value that it has, which is a lot easier said than done. And the last one is called markup. I'm so glad Alex isn't here to see my watermarked picture. Markup is you decide what your costs are, and then you decide, for as much as everything this is costing me, I would like to make an additional 30% on top of that, and that 30% is what goes in my pocket. So you start from the bottom, and you work your way up. I highly recommend not using one of these strategies, but all three. It's not like you don't live in a tunnel where you said, my business model is based off of benchmarking. You should know what other people charge. You should know what additional value you offer, and you should have an idea of what your costs are, because those all come into play. But those are 3 reference points to get you guys kind of starting to think about business model. These are later when, I think like a week or 2 from now, you guys are going to dive way more into finance and KPIs. But these are These are two very important acronyms to keep in mind. The first one is acquisition cost, and the second one is lifetime value. Whenever you are explaining your business model, do you guys know where that? Okay. Whenever you're explaining your business model, you want to cut to the point where if I spend $100 in Google AdWords and I get 100 users, my cost for a user is $1 each. What everyone wants to know is how much does it cost for you to get each person, and over the lifetime of that person, how much money do they spend using your good or service. This number always needs to be higher than the other number. It probably won't be at first, but it has to be there. And a word of advice, having a cost per user or a cost for acquiring one person of $1 and having a lifetime value of $1.20 is not a compelling business model. You want that second number to be much, much higher than the first number. Always try to include something that relates to this concept, even if it isn't exactly the metrics, in your presentation or your pitch, or at least in your mind. Another important thing is critical mass. This is up here because when I was looking for a picture of critical mass, I only found pictures of bicycles and pot, which I thought was kind of strange because that wasn't where I was going with this. But that's what happens with Google, I guess. So critical mass is really important, especially when you're talking about, there's a lot of startups that aren't going to be profitable until they get past a certain number of users. Freemium models especially. Facebook didn't make any money until it had 5% of the world population using it, if not more. So having thought about that, you guys need to know where your critical mass is. You need to know where your tipping point is. You need to have in mind when you're thinking about your business, at what point is this really going to start taking off? At what point are we going to be starting to have a business model that's really interesting? The other thing is scalability. This is the hockey stick curve, or I think somebody has a different kind of curve that you're going to see in a different slide pitch. But the idea of scalability is what people want to see is they don't want to see, I spend $1 in advertising money, or I spend $1 in going to events, and I get $2 profit. And then I spend $1 and I get $2 more profit. And then I spend $3 and now I have $6. And they don't want to see revenue or profitability that grows like this. What they want to see is revenue that grows like this. Or what they want to see isn't that your number of users has increased by 1 every month. So the only thing we need to do is wait for eternity, and then we'll have like 1 million users in order for you to have an interesting business model. The whole concept of like when you join a bank, ING. When you join ING, they give you $50 or euros in your account when you get a friend to sign up too, and your friend gets that money too. What that's doing is it's encouraging people that instead of, well, that one tells you that ING's cost for acquiring people is probably around 50 euros. So for every client they get, they probably spend about that much money. Otherwise, they wouldn't be happy to give it to you. That also means that ING is probably making more than 50 euros on every single one of us that happen to be a client, which is an interesting thing to have in mind. But the idea is that you get one person and you do something that is going to make that person get everyone else they know, or at least multiple people that they know, to also use your product or service. This is a very important thing to have in mind with your business model, because no one likes to see linear growth. Everyone likes to see growth that looks like a hockey stick. So, business plans. Business models and business plans. For me, at the phase that you guys are in, I'm sure you guys have all done the lean canvas model and that at this point already, right? Yeah, good, we've got it. So for me at this point, the most important thing that you guys can do has nothing to do with making an Excel that's 7 tabs long. It has nothing to do with writing down a marketing plan that is written in stone. What happens when you produce paper or literature about your startup is once it is written, it's like the Bible. You know, it is written and therefore it is. And because it's written, you feel less able to change it because I already wrote it. And if I change it, then I have to rewrite it. And it seems stupid, but it's a mindset. What you should be doing at this point is focusing on what are the questions that I need to answer, and you should be thinking about everything: financials, your business model, your lean startup canvas, in a very question and model type of way of thinking. And the point is, and the reason for this is, don't create literature until somebody asks you for it. You want to have all the answers, but you don't want to produce documentation until you have to sell it to other people. At this point, you need to be answering these questions for yourself and for your co-founders and probably for whoever your first investors are. Even your first investor is your girlfriend who just has to tolerate you while you become a recluse for 7 months. You need to know these things for yourself because your first asset in all of this is you and your time. And before you go wasting that asset, you need to know that it's worthwhile for you and you need to have clear like what you want to get out of this experience. So the way to find out and the way to investigate is to study your market. You guys, these questions will be up there. Most people go to the library to look at the stuff. They say, my market is girls in Spain between the ages of 18 and 28. And that's, you know, about 5% of the population. And then they do all this number crunching and they do all this profiling and they read about habits of the new generation and the baby boomers. And they say, okay, I've read, I've studied, and therefore I know. That isn't going to really help you. Like, it's a good place to start, but do not leave your marketing effort there. Do not leave your study of your business model there. What you want to do is you really want to go out and you want to find this information out and you want to find it from people who are in the street. And that's by doing primary research. So when you do your primary research, you do not talk to your family. You do not talk to your friends. You don't talk to people who are like you. You want to talk to the people whose problem it is that you actually want to solve. If you want to solve your own problems, well, that's a good place to start. But don't limit yourself to people who are sharing your experiences, because I guarantee you multiplied in each country and your, you know, doppelganger that you have in each country is not a sufficient enough market for what it is that you want to be selling. So one, figure out who they are. Do not talk to that guy the same way you would talk to his kids. That's obvious. Two, you want to know where they are. You don't want to do any of your learning, any of your feasibility testing from your office. You want to be in the street. You want to be where they are. The other big problem I see is when people go and they test their business model, the first thing they do is, okay, Caitlin, my target market is this. My target market is 18, 28-year-old girls, 18 to 28-year-old girls. They go shopping. I'm going to go to Zara and I'm going to give people surveys. Don't start there. Start by talking to people. Good, go to Zara, go to where they are, but have conversations, and the reason is the haircut syndrome. Have you ever in your life gotten your hair cut and asked somebody, do you like my haircut? Has anyone ever told you no? You've never told me you don't like my haircut.
Maybe.
Yeah, you would.
You're scary. I
You
would.
would.
You're
You
scary.
would. You would.
You scare the shit out of me. She can hit. I can tell you that.
People will tell you, and they don't do it to be malicious, but people will tell you what they think you want to hear, because
You look lovely today.
no.
You see, she's scary. Chicos, pleasure and placer. You have my details. If not, ask the people here.
Alex is a great resource. Do not hesitate to bother him a lot.
Yeah, just expect me to answer you in 3 or 4 weeks, but I will answer. That's for sure. Good luck, guys.
Manny. So they don't do it to be mean. They just do it because here you are with all of your bravery and your gusto, and you're so excited about your project, and you're like, don't you think, what did he say in Instagram for Feet? Don't you think Instagram for Feet would be wonderful? And they're gonna be like, yeah. And then they're gonna go, no. Or they'll say, yeah, and they really will agree with you, but then tomorrow they're not gonna actually agree with you. The kind of questions that you wanna be asking go in a scale from good to not so good. If I ask you, what are you doing now? That's a lot better than asking you, would you possibly consider doing this? And it's way better than asking you, in the future, what will you do? Reason being, I love macaroni and cheese. And if somebody told me, hey, how would you feel about there being more macaroni and cheese? Would that be a good idea? I'd say that would be a great idea. In the past 4 years since I lived in Spain, I have bought 1 box of macaroni and cheese ever in Spain. And it was because I happened to be in the store and it was there. That, I would answer all of your questions on a scale from 0 to 10. How important is macaroni and cheese? I would say a 7. You look at that number and you say 7. 7's good. 7 is a good number. But what happens is you're asking the wrong questions. You're asking me what I would do and what I would want to do and maybe what I will do in the future. But you're not asking me, Caitlin, in the past year, how many times you bought macaroni and cheese. So try to focus figuring out how your business model is going to work based on what people are doing now, what people are buying now, how they're buying it now, maybe how they feel about it, you're going to obviously have to ask the question, would you, if we launched this product, use my product? But don't put any importance on that answer. Put importance on the other questions, and they're more important. Those are just examples that we pretty much have already talked to. The last point being, if there's any way to cut to the chase, and I'm going to end on this story, that is the best way to figure out your business model, is to sell it before it exists. There is an entrepreneur who lives in Silicon Valley who decided that he wanted to start a business where he sold jellyfish sea tanks. So he went out and he sold one for like $50,000. The problem was he didn't know how to make them. He had never made them before, but he had already sold one, so now he had to make it. And that's the way he learned. I do not recommend specifically following that advice, but the second that you think you have the smallest bit of a product or a service that you can sell, start selling it. Because the sooner you start selling it, the sooner you start realizing how you have to adjust your business model, and the sooner you're going to know whether or not what you have is a business. It is so much better. The only exception to this I might say is if you're like super software intense, there are some things that require you to actually have a very nice product put together before you throw it out in the market. But at the very least, throw parts of it out in the market. At the very least, get someone to pay for a sample or get someone to pay for a consult, because the second that someone has paid for what you're doing, and the second people, like, you have money in the bank that proves that, the much better off you're going to be when you start talking to investors about how you're going to scale this and make it a multi-million-dollar company in 3 years. It just makes you more believable. So that's it. I hope that was painless as far as business goes. I also swore to my dad I'd say hi. Hi, Dad. I don't know, we're probably running terrible on time. So I would say, in the interest of time, if you guys have any specific questions, feel free to shoot me an email. My email is this@gmail.com, or shoot me a Twitter direct message and I'll get back to you. I'm also more than happy to go through, once you guys start doing your financial stuff or your business model, I'm more than happy to go and have lunch with any of you at any point in time and go through things if you have any doubts or questions. That is an offer you can ask people from other years. I always, if you ask,
You can say 3 questions.
I can take 3.
3.
Ooh.
Come on, raise your hands.
Are there any questions? That's actually deep.
These people don't ask. I don't know what happened with these people.
Which is the other case that is better now with your colleagues in the first month?
I would say I've met 1 or 2 startups that, and I would say this is like a 1, there's the 99% and then there's always the 1 that, the exception to the rule. I've met 1 startup that after 3 years of developing, when they finally did start selling it, sold like this. And I honestly would have even probably told them that they should have started selling it in pieces sooner. They did a little bit. Most of the time, the sooner you can get it out there, the better. But having said that, start small, right? If the person you want to sell to the most is the New York Times, sell to Luigi first, or sell to somebody local and smaller first, because you don't want to burn your big bridge, but you want to make sure that the little ones are there, because that will give you stamina and it will also give you experience, because selling is an experience. And I don't believe that anyone's born good at selling. I think it's something that you have to learn. It's very iterative. So
Kaylin, you're talking to somebody that spent months developing his product.
No,
that's showing
for you,
anybody.
that's not true. For you, that's not true. Trust me, if Carmen's saying that, then it's not true for you. You're the 99%. Start selling now. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Well, best of luck, guys. Anything you need, we're here. Enjoy it.
Vamos a...
Hi. Can I get an eraser?
What?
And furniture?
What do you want to get?
Eraser. Not to erase.
Ah, el borrador.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Eduardo and my company is ShadowCloud, and I'm going to talk about business-to-business models. So I guess all of you are either starting a startup or thinking about it, or maybe you already have some clients. How many of you are doing something more like consumer? Can you raise your hands? All right, 2, 3. How many are B2B, either selling to small businesses, large businesses, anywhere in between? Wow, so that's roughly half, maybe more than half. Okay. And the ones that raise their hands, how many are doing like something for like very small businesses? Cool. Bigger companies, like hundreds of employees, something like that? Okay. How about enterprise? Thousands of employees, tens of thousands of employees. They're very big companies. Cool, you're brave. All right. So that is good, you know, because at least half of you are doing B2B, so that's great. You know, I did an accelerator in the US, Techstars, and most people were doing consumer. So it was hard for me, you know, to connect with people and learn. So I'm going to be talking. I'm going to start from the very beginning, but I'm only going to talk for like 5 to 10 minutes, so that we have another 10 minutes after that for like any kind of questions, which I think is the most interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go briefly through the different types of companies that you can sell to, and how that relates to the viability of your company, to the cost of customer acquisition, and to other things. And also one final question. How many of you have either raised any money whatsoever, maybe, you know, 10,000 euros from like family, or maybe even a seed round? Have you raised any money? Okay. And how many are planning to raise money? Okay. All right, so like I said, I'm going to start from the beginning. So some of these you probably already know, so but I think it's going to be interesting for everyone. So when you're selling to other businesses, let me talk briefly about my background. So I started this company, ShadowCloud, about 4 years ago. And you know, I had no idea about the starting companies. I'm an electrical engineer, and I'm the CEO of the company. I had no idea about sales or raising money or anything, you know. And over the last 4 years, 4.5, we tried everything. We tried selling to very small businesses. We tried selling to slightly bigger companies, then universities, and then finally to very, very big companies, everything in between. So, you know, through that period, I learned a little bit of everything, quite a little bit of everything about selling to every kind of company out there. I don't know anything about consumers, so don't ask me about Instagram or stuff like that. I have no idea. But I do know something about the other types of sales. So I'm gonna put up here the 4 most typical models, and then we're gonna talk briefly about pros and cons, and then I'm gonna tell you my experience selling to all of these types of businesses, and then I'm gonna take questions. Sounds like a good plan? All right. Okay, so first, first problem. Freemium. Can anybody name an example of a well-known freemium product, software product?
Skype.
Skype. What else? Spotify. Yep. Dropbox. Right. Skype. Dropbox. All right. And inside sales. This is, by the way, I'm classifying like by sales models, like how you're going to sell your products, right? Because when you're selling to other businesses, it's all about selling it, obviously, right? When you're doing something like Instagram or I don't know, Facebook, then it's all like very complex because maybe your product is your users and you're selling your users. Nah, you know, with B2B, it's very clear. You do software and then you sell the software. So that's what I like about B2B, right? And in B2B, you can either do freemium, which means you're taking your product and you're creating a free version, and then you're creating some other version which might be better or more storage or something, and then you're charging for that, right? Inside sales. Within inside sales, there is light touch. We can call it no touch. Then light touch. And then high touch. So what is inside sales? Inside sales is when you have salespeople inside the company selling the product. And actually, I'm sorry, but premium is typically no touch. There we go. So light touch. Light touch, when there is any type of exchange between a salesperson and your client. Maybe it's an email, you know, just a few emails, that's it. Maybe it's a phone call, right? That's light touch. High touch, it means there's several phone calls, like it's more involved, right? Maybe you do a couple of emails, then one phone call, then one demonstration, either over like a Google Hangout or Skype or GoToMeeting or something like that, right? That's inside sales. And then, oh, by the way, any examples about software companies that do inside sales?
Google.
Which one?
Google.
Google? For what product? Google does like everything, you know, cars.
Google Ads.
Google Ads?
Oracle.
Yeah, Google Ads, they sell it through inside sales people, but they sell it both through like light touch and high touch. And also, they also do no touch as well, because you can buy it self-service with no interaction whatsoever, right? So, and I think actually we can put no touch in here because, you know, for example, with Google AdWords is not freemium, but it's not inside. I mean, it's also inside sales. Google is a big company and they try everything, right? They also have, for like companies that spend millions on Google Ads, they also have high touch. And they also have the next one, which is field sales. This is when you have a salesperson go visit the client in their office, right? And Google also does that for like people that spend, I don't know, $10 million a year. How about another example of inside sales? Light touch inside sales. So, any examples?
Oracle.
I don't agree actually, you know, because Oracle, I would say it's either high touch inside sales or it's field sales. Oracle typically, you know, you would call them up and they would say, okay, you know, do you have $1 million? And then you say no, and they buy, right? Or you say yes, you know, I work for a big company, our budget is $1 million a year, and then they typically send a person, you know, to your office.
And it should be software.
What's that?
It should be a software company. Software company.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you an example of inside sales that is light touch. I actually, in my company, we use the business version of Dropbox, and we have 17 people. So the business version of Dropbox is like $1,600, $1,600, right? For it's, I think it's about 10, 20 per employee multiplied by 17 employees. So you know, it's more expensive, right? So I send them an email, you know, and they respond. I send them an email asking, you know, can you give us a discount, or can you tell us why Dropbox is better than Google Drive? And they respond, right? They even did a phone call because I wanted to pay, you know, with an invoice. So they even did a phone call. So that's light touch. When there is, you know, an exchange between a person in your company, the software company, and the client, any exchange, that's light touch, right? It's very different from no touch, because no touch means that people buy, you know, without doing anything, without interacting with you at all, right? Like no interaction, they just buy. Like for example, do you guys know about Buffer, which is a product that sends tweets, scheduled tweets, Buffer. So Buffer is no touch, because Buffer you just buy online, right? Well, you know, sometimes sometimes companies can be in two categories, because Buffer, for example, also has a free version of the product, so it's premium in that case. So this is pretty much the four main categories. There's another one that is called channel sales, and channel sales is when you have a partner that is selling the product for you. Like, think, for example, about the many resellers that do Oracle integration in Spain. There's so many companies, right, that do Oracle integration. You can buy Oracle from a bunch of local companies instead of buying directly from Oracle, right? And I'm going to talk about that because I don't think is anybody interested in that model, like channel sales. It's much more niche, right? I think most people that try to start a software company, they either do premium, no touch, inside sales, or field sales. The only thing with within field sales is that you can say field sales were only. I think I need to close this every time or goes out. I think. All right. So
You can use this one.
I have a function here. Thank you. So you can do field sales where only the salesperson goes, one person, you know, and that's, for example, when you have, I don't know, people selling Bibles in the, you know, door to door, right? Or people selling, I don't know, insurance or things like that, right? Or, you know, in software, you also get people that go to the office, but they go with a sales engineer, right? This is typical in like large software companies. When you go to the client and you have to go with a sales engineer, which is an engineer that hates coding, and then that person gives a demo and stuff like that. This is typically like very expensive software, right? So, so just to summarize, freemium products like products that we will use, right? I think freemium is easy to understand. Let me pull up a few examples that I have in here. Also, most open source products that we know are tend to be premium, like MySQL or JBoss. You know, typically you can download it, you can play with it. The open source version you can even deploy it. But if you want to get support, anything like that, you pay the company, right? Light inside sales, light touch is when there is any kind of email exchange or even like maybe one phone call, right? Then inside sales with high touch is when there are several phone calls, maybe even an online demonstration. Field sales when you send somebody to the company to demonstrate the product. You know, maybe you have to fly to another city, something like that. So is it all clear about the different ways to sell software? Okay, cool. So who of all of you that raised your hands when talking about that you were going to do B2B, who is doing a product that is freemium? Can you raise your hands? Okay, who is doing no touch, when you charge for the product, but maybe you only do a free trial, like 30-day free trial, something like that? Okay. Who is doing inside sales, where you already have one salesperson? Maybe you are the salesperson and the coder, everything, but you are doing any type of sales through the phone, through email. Cool. And who is doing field sales? So you're going to companies, to the office, you demonstrate. All right. Okay, cool. So one thing that is very important to understand is how much money you can charge for each one of these models, and the viability of your product depending on the sales model that you chose. With freemium, so you know, I think only one person had raised money that raised their hands, and a few people were interested in raising money. But we all know that in Spain, it's not easy to raise $2 million, right? You're lucky you can raise €500,000 or something like that. So one big problem with both premium no touch and light touch inside sales is that it's just hard to make real money, right? Because when you're doing a premium product, how much is Dropbox, like the business version or the premium version? It's $10 a month, right? So how many clients do you need to actually pay one salary? if you think of one salary at 1,000 euros, you need at least 100 clients, right? If you need a team of 10 people, then you need 1,000 clients, right? Getting 1,000 clients, 1,000 paying clients is really, really difficult. With freemium, typically companies have between 5% conversion rate, maybe up to 10, like very successful products, right? So in order to have 1,000 paying clients, you might need 10,000 or 50,000 companies using the tool, right? Between paid users and free users. So that's really, really difficult, right? Getting to 50,000 companies using the product and over 1,000 or 2,000 paying for it. So I would be very, very careful about doing freemium and also no-touch, because no-touch, no-touch products, typically they cost $10, $20, $30 a month, something like that, right? It's hard to charge a company or a person 100 or 200 euros or dollars a month. It's hard. Like typically in order to charge more than 100, so let's put it here, right? So here we're charging between between 5 to maybe 50, right? Here, inside sales, we're charging maybe 100. With high touch, you can charge maybe up to 500, right? Field sales, it's a different animal, but let's stick to like freemium and no touch for now. The typical products that you use online and you sign up, you pay what? $5, $40, $50 a month, maybe $80 a month, right? And those you can buy online. I would recommend that if you are working on something that is freemium or no touch, you try to keep your expenses very, 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 very low. That means a really small team, 1, 2, 3 people, all of them coders. Because coders create the product, right? And because you're doing premium or no touch, you don't have any salespeople, right? So really small team, really low expenses, because it's gonna take a long time to get 1,000, 5,000 clients, right? That's a lot of clients. Inside sales. When you have one person selling something inside the company, they're doing inside sales, right? When you have a person selling something, you can get away with charging 100, a couple hundred, maybe even up to like $500 or $600 a month, right? So that's a little easier. You're charging 100 and you have 100 clients, you're making $10,000 a month. You're making $10,000 a month, you've got a business. You can pay a few salaries, that's something. And it only takes 100 clients. If you charge 500, you only need 20 clients, right? 20 clients to make 10,000 a month, right? So that's more viable. That's maybe easier to do without raising a lot of money, right? Because whenever you are thinking about starting a company, you need to think about the worst case scenario. And if the worst case scenario is that you don't raise any money, it's not that bad. As long as you can keep your salaries and your expenses really, really low, you could try to focus on inside sales and just try to get to 20 clients. But you need to charge enough. If you have a person selling your product inside the company, even if it's you, the founder and CEO, and you're selling your product, you are a salesperson. You can't charge $10 a month for that. If you have any person selling anything, you have to charge between 100 and 500, because otherwise, it's unsustainable, basically, right? So I really like inside sales. Obviously, it's your company, so you make the decision, right? But I think inside sales works well in an economy where it's hard to raise a lot of money, right? We all know a lot of companies that do premium and no touch because they spend so much on marketing. They're huge, right? Dropbox, Skype, etc., right? But they raised how much? I don't know, hundreds of millions, right? Can I raise $100 million? No. Can you? I don't think so. It's difficult, right? I hope so, but I don't think so. So I would be careful with premium and no touch. I think you can be very successful. You have to be very careful the first couple of years with your expenses, because you're going to make very little money or maybe no money. And then that brings me to the last one, field sales. Field sales, and when you go from one to the other, the lines get blurred, right? Like high touch to field sales, there's not so much of a difference. When you do high touch, you're doing several phone calls. Maybe instead of doing another phone call, you tell your client, hey, I'm going to stop by your office and I'm going to explain this in person, right? So about 90% of the revenue for my company comes from between high touch and field sales. We've got 3 clients, and for 2 of them, we went to visit them personally. For one of them, we didn't. So I guess you could say that one of them is high touch and two are field sales. What's the benefit of doing anything high touch or field sales? The benefit is you're talking to the client, so you're going to be able to learn a ton about their problems, right? And we can talk a lot about this, but I'm just going to say that you're talking to someone at a big company, and this person is a person with responsibility, you know, maybe a director level person, or maybe a senior manager, or maybe a vice president in a large company. Any of their problems are worth $200,000 a year at least, and maybe millions, and maybe tens of millions, right? Any company with 10,000 people, a director is going to be managing 50 people. A vice president is going to be managing 600 people. You know, any of their problems, you know, cost $250,000, $1 million, $5 million. So you could just get one client, and you could basically be very, 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 very profitable, right? Because with high touch, so we said that inside sales, light touch is 100 to 500, right? I would say that high touch inside sales is anywhere from 1,000 a month to 20,000 a month, right? I don't know if you can see this, but I say it again. High touch inside sales, anywhere from 1,000 a month to 20,000 a month, right? But field sales with software engineers, you know, that's anywhere from like 20,000 a month to $250,000 a month. So that's, you know, a few $1 million every year, right? We've got one line that is paying something in that range, and it's not that difficult, you know, because once you spend time with a director or a vice president of a large company, any of their problems are huge, and any of their problems are going to pay a lot of money. It looks a little bit like consulting, and it looks like consulting because you're basically using a software product with services around it, integration, you know, optimization, et cetera, to help a very big company, right? Companies doing high touch inside sales or field sales are Oracle, Microsoft. Almost everything they do is high touch inside sales in terms of the stuff that brings a lot of money, right? Dynamics CRM and Exchange and things like that. So what I'm going to say about field sales is that I really like it because with only one client, you could be making $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, and much more than that, right? So it's a relatively easy way to go from like, I have nothing, I have a startup that makes no money, to I have a real company, right? So, and just to wrap this up, we started doing no touch. We created a simple migration tool, email migration tool for small businesses that we sold online. When I saw that people were using it, we sold it online and we started making some money. We grew to making about a couple $1,000s a month with that product. This is almost 4 years ago, right? So we started with no touch and we were making $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And then, you know, I was one of the coders, but I was also checking out the server logs, you know, tail, -f, all the server logs. I was seeing all of the email addresses, you know, using the tool. So I started emailing those people, you know, the people using the tool. So I started doing light touch, you know, because I was asking them, hey, how are you using our migration tool? It was a very simple migration tool. You know, we were moving emails from IMAP to IMAP. So a very simple piece of software, you know, maybe a few thousand lines of code. So I started doing light touch because I started asking them, hey, how are you using this? And they were telling me, well, I'm moving from my own email servers to Gmail, you know, things like that, right? So I started asking them, well, how can we help? You know, and then we started going from like charging very little money to be able to charge a lot more money. We were charging hundreds of dollars, sometimes even thousands of dollars, right? And then I was talking to companies as they were using our tool, and then some companies were like, you know, I wanna move 7,000 people. Universities started telling me, I wanna move 7,000 people from my own email servers to Gmail for Business. Can you help us out and do a project? So that's high touch, you know, when we were like more involved, we were doing maybe 4 or 5 phone calls, you know, maybe 20 phone calls, right? But we were able to charge between $10,000 to $20,000, $30,000, right? Much more money. And then this is like over like 4 years, right? So year 1 we were doing no touch, years 2 and 3, we were doing light touch and high touch. And then we ended up, just by talking to more and more of the people that were using our tool, and then also customer recommendations, we ended up also doing field sales with software engineers. And that means going to very big companies that were interested in our service and having both people in sales and people in engineering talk to them to adapt our software. And we're charging, each of our clients, we're charging between a couple $100,000 a year to $1.4 million a year. So you only need a couple of those to make a lot of money. And now we are going back to, we just recently released a no-touch product in January of this year, so not that recently, 10 months ago. And it's been 10 months, and we grew from 0 to 600 clients. 600 clients. How much money do you think we're making from 600 clients with our no-touch product? Any guesses? How much money are we making from 600 clients right now, every month?
100.
100 what? $100, $100,000?
$100.
$100 per client or total?
Total.
No, I mean, that's nothing, you know. No, we're making $7,000, which is really low. You know, when you think about signing up 600 clients and only making $7,000, that's really, really low amount, right? So what I'm saying is that obviously with this product, we hope to get to like 50,000 clients, and then we'll be making some real money. But right now, you know, we've got 5, 6 people working on that. It only covers one salary, you know. So that goes to show that no touch and premium are really hard, really hard. But they can be done, you know. You got Dropbox, you got Skype, but they're really hard. So, so I guess that's it, you know, for me. I wanted to summarize the 4 main types of selling software to clients, and I wanted to tell the pros and cons, and I wanted to give, you know, an example with our own company history. Now it's time for you guys to ask me any questions. Thoughts, examples from your own products. Yeah.
What if you have a product that it cannot be sold online, and you are starting and you don't have contact, you don't have networking, but your customer is a big one? How do you get the contact or the right person to
So we're talking about a product that can't be sold online. That has to be sold either over the email, phone, or in person, right?
Yes, because it needs hardware.
Okay. So and you don't have any connections in the in like potential clients.
No.
That makes it difficult. I'll give you an example of how we started. We didn't have any connections either. No connections or nothing, right? The first thing I did to get our initial users is I started posting comments on forums and blogs. Like I went on Google, I searched for email migration and also Google Apps migration, Gmail migration, you know. And there were like forums and blog posts and stuff like that. And I started writing comments with links to our tool. But the benefit in our case is that our tool, they could try it online, right? So they were able to try it. You know, a big company, they're only going to try it. They're not going to sign up or pay for it. They're not going to do anything. But they will try it. And if you check your logs, your signups, you will see their email address. You know, one of our clients, early big clients, was Harvard University. Big university, very well known in the world, right? You know, literally the way I saw them, they saw one of our posts when one of the IT guys were doing research. They went to our website, they tried it, and I saw a Harvard.edu email address in our logs. I was like, holy shit, you know? I immediately sent them an email, right? And that's how we started working with Harvard University. In your case, you know, if it involves hardware and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to sell it online, obviously. But you can maybe write a post talking about, you know, why your solution is great, right? And then if you can get these people to read it, you know, then you can get those email addresses and then you can get in touch with them. That's one way, one idea. But it's difficult when you don't have any connections. You know?
And social networking or something, posting in LinkedIn and trying to make contacts in LinkedIn.
Well, obviously, you know, LinkedIn is great. Like, if you can you identify your 10 top clients that you would like to work with?
Yeah, sure.
So, you know, just go on LinkedIn and you can pay for a premium account, which is like $20 a month or $30, and then you can look for the people that the decision makers in those companies, right? And just like spam them.
What we learned last week. We need a LinkedIn private account.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that expensive. But I think before spamming people, you need to have something good to tell them. You know, you have something good to tell them, they're gonna say this is a spam, and then LinkedIn might block you. You know, my experience with spamming on LinkedIn is that it's not a spam if people are actually interested in getting it. You know, I've sent maybe 300 messages through LinkedIn, unwanted or unrequested. You know, but if you're telling them something that they want to hear, then they will actually respond. You know, that's my experience. Yep.
So maybe in our case, it's quite the opposite. We focus on small businesses, but we don't have money for marketing, so no touch, it's not really a good option if we want clients. So we're now starting like field sales, right? But we want to go up in the so our product being known and in the end being no touch. But I mean, if we have no money, we have to do this effort, right?
What effort?
Go door by door. I mean, go through.
I mean, I want to make a difference between what you do at the very beginning and what your plan looks like, right? I think at the very beginning you have to do whatever you need to do in order to grow, you know, your clients or the product or whatever, right? Like for example, Airbnb, which is no touch product, Airbnb, right? Airbnb, I don't know if you guys know that they hacked Craigslist. You know Craigslist? Craigslist is like segundamano.com. So they hacked it so that all of the Airbnb apartments went also on Craigslist, which Craigslist had a ton of traffic, right? So obviously that doesn't scale, you know, and that doesn't work long term. But at the beginning, you need to do whatever you need to do, you know. So at the beginning, do whatever you need to do to grow. But you have to be clear, you know, about the long term, right? Yeah. Because if you have a product that you need to go door to door, you need to go, you know, maybe it's a product for restaurants, right? And you need to go to every restaurant, you need to charge significant money because it's very expensive to go to every restaurant, right? We're talking about how much money you can charge, but we didn't talk about how much money it's going to cost to get those clients, right? When you do premium or no touch, typically you wanna spend in every category, you wanna spend a maximum of a third of what you make, the long-term value, right? Your cost of customer acquisition has to be long-term value divided by 3. Well, ideally less than that, right? So if you're charging $5 to $50 a month, then you can only spend, well, long-term value, let's say the customer stays for a couple of years, so that's a couple $100 long-term value divided by 3, maybe $70.
Sorry to stop you, because I think it's the 4th or 5th week where we explain this. How many of you know what is customer acquisition cost?
The last presentation told us about that.
Oh, sorry.
So you guys know this?
Yes.
Cost of customer acquisition, long-term value. Okay, cool. So basically, if you go door to door, you're spending maybe $100 to get every client. That's how much you spend on marketing, on sales. That's the total expense, right? And then divided by the number of people that actually sign up. Then inside sales, you're only spending more money. Field sales, I mean, think about people like getting on a flight, you know, getting lunch for your client, things like that you have to do when you do field sales, right? And maybe think about having sales engineers, 2 people or 3 people, right? That's very, very, very expensive. I had to fly to Zurich, Philadelphia, many cities to meet my clients. That's expensive, $10,000 maybe, you know, $5,000. So if every client is going to cost you $5,000 to $10,000, you know, that's unsustainable, right? Short term, you know, you need to go door to door to verify that you have product market fit, meaning that your product is the right product. Obviously do it, you know. But take a look at the long term too. So I would say, you know, you want to go to premium or no, that's fine. But you know, remember that your product is going to be inexpensive, and then you need tactics for growth that are also inexpensive, like viral growth and things like that. Ideally, Dropbox, for example, perfect example of viral growth. You know, for Dropbox, it's very cheap to acquire customers because people share the files with other people, so they sign up, right? Cool. More questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
When you do field sales,
yeah,
and assuming that you're doing aggressive approach. Like you don't wait for the client to call you and you send the sale. You do it the other way around. You go to the client and present it and go back. How you select your targets to be efficient? I mean, how you select in order to really get the return on investment what you send on the cost of sending the guy.
Do you do is your product field sales kind of product?
Yeah.
Okay, and how much money do you think you can make from each customer?
Still
Still on the
question. Yes.
Okay. I think at the beginning, you need to choose the ones that are like, crazy for the product, right?
Especially you know it, you haven't talked to them.
If you tell me what your product is about, maybe I can help, but typically things like they send you emails like, hey, can you help me with this? As opposed to you having to tell them, hey, I have this software tool, please buy it. That's what happens, right? I like to think about products also as either vitamin products, aspirin products, and morphine products, right? So vitamin is products that will make your company better in some way, right? Aspirin are products that will make a pain go away or be easier. Morphine products are products that your company is gonna die, and you need that product or you will die. So obviously, a morphine product is good to get people to buy it quickly, right? How to find out if your product is morphine? You can just gotta talk to customers, see how interested they are. One typical question in customer development is asking them, let's say your product is for restaurants, and restaurants don't buy too many software. So you could just go to 10 restaurants and ask, what are your top 3 problems that you can solve with software? Or what are the top 3 tools that you're thinking about buying? They might say CRM to manage my customers, accounting to manage my accounting, maybe something else, right? If your product is not in one of those 3, it's gonna be tricky, to sell it. That's one tactic. What are your top 3 problems? Yep.
Based on your experience, now if you could start again without the process, which one would you start with?
That's a great question. I think I would probably start with directly with inside sales, light touch, because as you identified, it's hard to get the connections to sell something to a very big company, something very expensive. It's tricky. You need to have a person that is, a VP or director or something like that in a big company, and that person needs to trust you, right? So it's tricky. You can make a lot of money very quickly, but it's tricky, right? And then once you have one, getting the second one is not easy, So growth is also not easy. Light touch, it's easier because your product is gonna be cheaper. Maybe you charge 100, 200 a month. You only need, 10, 20 of those to make a couple thousand, $3,000, $4,000 a month. So when you're starting and you only have, your 2 co-founders, it's relatively easy to get to profitability, like, really ramen profitability, right? So I would do that. And then it's up to you whether you go to premium or no touch, or you go to more expensive, you have a lot of options, right? Yeah.
I'm not quite getting it because the thing is that you say you should start by light touch, for example. But then how do you get to charge so much more for the same product? Because you're actually selling it before by half of it. So are you saying to sell the same product for a lot more money, or to change the product and adapt it to those clients?
More like the second.
Okay.
I mean, it can be, it depends on your product, right? Like for example, Dropbox, right? Dropbox is the same core product, right? But instead of having one person buy it, you have 19 person buy it. It's always going to be more expensive, right? If instead of having 2 gigs, you want a terabyte, it's going to be more expensive, right? With our product, which is about moving email, it's not only about, we charge more money when you want to move more accounts, more email accounts, right? But just by listening to your clients' problems, you can charge much more money, because if you're a big company, you don't need to be a very big company. Let's say you are 200 people, you know. Inside the company, building any kind of integration, doing anything costs a lot of money. You know, if you can pay, instead of paying premium or no touch, instead of paying $5, $10, you tell me that I can pay 200 and I don't need to have any of my engineers code anything, I would pay more money because my engineers make 40, 50, 60,000 euros, you know, so any hour that they spend is expensive, right? So, and to answer, you know, my own specific experience, right? We were charging, you know, $10, $20 per account. And then just by looking at who was using our product, I saw Harvard using it. I emailed them and they were like, yes, this is great, but we have an in-house email server and your product doesn't work because there's a firewall in between. Relatively easy, you know, you just tell them, open up the firewall port, something like that, boom, much more valuable to them. You know, our product wouldn't work if not for that help, right? That help require a person in my company actually sending them that help. But to Harvard, this is awesome, you know, and they paid much more money, right? So, you know, the same product with things like small adaptations, small customizations, some integration can be much more valuable.
And how do you know how much is that person or that company prepared to pay?
That's a very good question. It's part science, part art. You try to charge as much as you can, obviously, as much as you can, and you're limited by the competition, you know? So ideally, you're doing something that there's not much competition, and then you can charge a lot, you know? But in B2B, always charge as much as you can. Never look at how much it costs for you to provide the service. Never. I mean, the only time you have to look at it is if you're gonna charge less than it costs, you know. Obviously, you know, when we're talking software, your profit margin should be 90%, 80%, right? At least. Yeah.
In our case, we have already gone to the stores and tried to get an email or someone that represents like the owner or something like that. So we mailed them, but we have the problem that we didn't know what to put in the content, and if we attach a document or would put everything in the body of the email. And for example, we would like to know your opinion about the timing. Like, okay, I send you an email and then I call you, but how long?
What kind of customers? Stores.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of stores? Like small, large?
Small.
Okay, so it's a product for them to do what in the stores?
It's an e-commerce platform.
E-commerce.
Yeah.
Okay, but for like actual stores, physical.
For physical to get online.
To get online.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're wondering, you've got the emails because you went to the stores, right? You've got the emails for store managers.
Yeah.
And you're trying to think how to send them a proposal. You know, what are the next steps, right?
Yeah. Having to call them. Like that.
I mean, I think I would need to see what the product is about, but this always depends on who you're selling to and how urgently they need your product, right? I mean, if the product is really one of their top concerns, they're gonna tell you right away, hey, please, you know, follow up with me immediately, right? It's fine if the product is not right now something that they need immediately, right? When you think about most CRM solutions like Salesforce is very successful, right? By the way, Salesforce, where are they? Here, right? Salesforce? Well, but Salesforce is a vitamin product. Like nobody is gonna die if they don't implement Salesforce, right? So I think one of the things that Salesforce does really well is that they send you stuff periodically, right? And when they send you stuff periodically, they educate you on the value of their product over time, right? They're basically warming up the lead. That's what they do, right? So in your case, I mean, I think it's tricky because at the very beginning you want people that really need it, right? So your client or your lead should be telling you, you know, I want this tomorrow. Please send me the proposal tomorrow, right? If not, you know, I would maybe focus on educating them. Like, don't think about the next step as I gotta send them a proposal, you know, I gotta attach it. Don't think about that. I would think about conveying the value of your product, right? You're not gonna be able to do that in one email. You know, maybe you put them up on a drip marketing campaign, right? With MailChimp or something like that. You can send them one email a week or a month, you know, maybe a week. And in each email, you tell them in a different way why your solution is great, you know. And at some point, they will be telling you, they will be responding to that email, and they will be saying, I want this now, you know. Can you please send me a proposal? I hope that helps. All right. Yep.
Would it be wise to ask your clients how much would they pay for your product? I mean, it's a good strategy.
I think that's good information, you know. He asked about asking whether we should ask our clients how much they will be willing to pay, right? I think that's good information, but I don't think, you know, it's like with features. You don't want your client telling you what the product should do and what the feature should do, right? Henry Ford, the founder of Ford, famously said that he went in the year 1900 something to ask his client what they wanted a car with more horses, right? A car meaning, you know, what do you call it? Like a horse carriage, right? So, you know, your clients are not going to tell you what the future looks like. You should be able to see that as a result of working on your field for very long, right? I think it's good information, though, you know? So ask them and see what they say. You might be surprised. You know, you might be surprised in that they are willing to pay a lot more money, right? When you're talking about more expensive things, you could ask other things. You could ask, what's your budget? You know, do you have a budget, right? And that's a way to know how much they're willing to spend right away. When you talk to big companies, you will be surprised how much they're willing to spend. You know, their budget might be $500,000 a year. You know, huge. So that's a good question for bigger companies. For small companies, for freemium or no touch, I would ask just for like your own information. That's it. Well, I hope this was helpful to everybody.
Okay, guys, dinner is ready.
Hay una tenía que pasar. Ya.
Perdón. ¿Vas a cobrar?
Sí, sí. Falta una y adivina quién es.
Soy yo. Ahora te pago, ahora te pago. Me da vergüenza.